The FCA don't give a fuck about your business.
Any marketing channel, the cost of it increases year on year. The margin's just getting squeezed and squeezed. Most dealerships weren't actually having any marketing strategy. It was put money into Autotrader and that was it.
Why is it more difficult, John?
Leads that are generated from digital marketing needs a different sales process. Working with them, got them really good results.
That's how it is, isn't it?
That's how it is. This is John.
And this is Nick.
And this is How It Is.
Well, this week, I'm really pleased to announce a great guest, and it's Jon Wilson from Social Tap. When we first started out Compliance Guys just over 5 years ago, our first ever podcast kind of interview was with you. I think we were in the middle of lockdown.
I was in the broom cupboard.
And you were in the broom cupboard, yeah, and I was in my conservatory with my undercrackers floating in the background there.
Were they?
Yes, they were indeed.
This is actually the first one you've been on.
Yeah, I maybe I should read into that a bit, that nobody else has ever invited me before, but you two are the first people.
Well, we're lovely. Even though you took the mick out of my green trousers, never mind.
And given that you work in, marketing, if you call it a wider marketing thing, I think you do see this across industries sometimes, that people don't actually do so much of things themselves that they expect. You know, when you go, I want a website built, and you want a website builder's website, and the website's shit.
Builder's house syndrome, I guess, is what it might be called, yeah.
Is that what it's actually called?
Well, yeah, or cobbler's shoes, I think, is another one. You know, like they have the worst shoes, builder has the worst house, that type of thing.
Builders don't have the worst house.
Oh, they don't?
always have the best houses.
Or unfinished.
They buy the land really cheaply and they get all their mates in.
They are always unfinished. So we said about marketing. John, Social Tap, what do you actually do?
Well, we help lots of different types of businesses, but I guess we're here today to talk about the stuff that we do with car dealers and brokers, but we help them find more customers, basically. That's what we do at its core. We're a digital marketing agency. We use Meta, we use TikTok, we use Google, we do CRM marketing, but our focus is on helping businesses to find more customers.
Interesting, you said, we're here to talk about automotive. It's funny because we mostly do automotive too. And sometimes you find yourself pigeonholed. So, why did you pick automotive as a niche? And what's made you move away from that slightly? And what decisions have you made?
It was purely accidental. I didn't have a background in automotive or financial services. My background was just marketing agency from being about 17. When I started Social Tap, we got introduced to a finance broker who'd gone through the typical merry-go-round of working with different marketing agencies, never really getting any results. We started working with them, got them really good results pretty quickly, and I sort of spotted that it was an industry that was underserviced at that particular time. On the dealer side, very, very much what's the word I'm looking for? Reliant on like Autotrader. Most dealerships weren't actually really having any marketing strategy of their own. It was put money into Autotrader and that was it. And on the broker side, lots of pay-per-click, Google campaigns, buying leads off lead gen companies, but social was still quite a new thing for that industry at the time. So, the cogs started to turn a little bit, and I thought maybe there's an opportunity here to do this for more businesses in that sector. It sort of went from there, really.
So you kind of fell into it rather than having a clear vision? Or... Yeah.
Again, it was just seeing at the time, I felt like automotive in general, from a marketing point of view, maybe this is a little bit harsh, but it was quite unsophisticated. Again, on the dealer side, dealers had this distaste, if you like, towards the
spending money.
Well, but also it was like, just like in the estate agents world, right move is a necessary evil. Do you know what I mean? estate agents become reliant on that platform, and they moan about it because the fees go up and everything else, but they also haven't. There's too much fear around moving away from it. So to be honest, at the time, the intention with the business was to service small independent car dealers, help them to at least have a bit more control over the marketing and not necessarily move away from Auto Trader because it's an absolute monster, isn't it? But at least have a little bit more control over things. But to be honest, things moved a bit. We probably moved more towards brokers quite quickly, just because there was bigger opportunity for sort of scale and what have you.
So there's always changes in, like, you know, Meta and like, you know, what's the one with Google, like polar bears and penguins and all that kind of stuff, isn't it? You know, so how do you keep up with that? How do you, or get ahead of the game? Is that possible?
Employ good people, I guess. You know,
how many employees have you got currently?
We're about 10.
Really?
We've gone through a few changes over the last 12 months. We've gone from hiring lots of full-time PAYE people to working with lots of freelancers now. In our industry, I think what tends to happen is people that are good at sort of Facebook ads or Google, they become good and then realise, actually, we can get paid a lot more by going freelance. So you've got two choices. You either employ the really good people that have probably gone freelance, or you have a process of training people, you know, bringing them in early. And we're trying to do a mixture of the two at the minute.
And is Social Tap the first business you've had?
Yeah. I was involved in the business that I first started working for was, I guess, a family business. It was run by my brother. It was a digital agency. We grew that to a decent size. I think we had 70 staff at one point, but eventually I just decided I wanted to do my own thing, and again saw some opportunities at the time, especially around. The big thing was how I saw so many businesses that would spend money on marketing and not understand what effect it was having on their business. It's almost a little bit like, again, without going into Auto Trader too much, when I spoke to lots of businesses and I asked them, how many cars do you actually sell a month from Auto Trader? And it was hazy at best. You know, and the thing that I liked most about sort of digital and Meta and Google was this, like, ability to go, right, you have spent £1,000 and you have sold X amount of whatever. So that then, as you can imagine, helps businesses to sort of scale up if they've got that definitive information.
But you've moved away from that somewhat, first to brokers and then to other industries. And I think we've kind of seen the same thing, is you start with this genuine passion for helping the small guy. But have you found sometimes that the small guy isn't ready to be helped, and therefore a business decision sometimes has to be, I'm going to move to slightly bigger fish?
Yeah. I think what we found early on with, not all, but, you know, some smaller independent dealers, and especially if they had been heavily reliant on like lead gen sources like Auto Trader, is they were, I don't want to be too harsh about this, but used to people ringing up the phone saying, I want this car, walking into the dealership and going, great, yeah, I'll have that, you know, maybe order taking, if you like. But this is very different, you know, and it needs, you know, really strong processes. You almost need to have, you know, and what we've seen with some dealerships that we work with is they have a separate team that are purely there to deal with, you know, leads that are generated from digital marketing, because it needs a different sales process. And it's not to say that, you know, because your conversion rates on walk-ins or Auto Trader might be 1 in 5 maybe, you know, social and Google, it might be significantly less. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, you know, and ultimately your cost to convert that customer can often be a lot less from those but it just needs a different process. And as you can imagine, the smaller it could work two ways, couldn't it? The smaller the business, the more nimble they can be, in theory. They should be able to move and change and what have you.
Should.
But
a lot of creatures of habit.
Yeah, it also relies on that desire to want to do it. And if you've done something the same way for 20 odd years or whatever, actually changing it is another story.
So I'm guessing you started by going, if you've got money and you want to spend it with us, we'll take it. Do you go through a process now of almost vetting who can work with you?
Yeah, we've as most businesses, you take on clients at the start with the best of intentions, and you think you can do a great job for them. What I've also realised is there's no marketing strategy that can come in and just solve a business's complete problems. We say no to lots of people now, and especially things to do with what technology are they using, how do they manage their leads, what scale is it, how, if somebody came to us now and said, look, we want to sell 10 cars a month, it probably doesn't work out. So it's been a process of us having to work with some clients to figure that out, but it's best all around that, we are very selective now with who we work with.
Sometimes the best deals are the ones you don't do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We've realised that, haven't we? Quite often.
You start moving from income to margin and margin to profit, don't you? And just new income. Sometimes it just means you need more staff, or you need more resource generally, and that's an operational problem, isn't it, sometimes?
Well, the other thing is, it's what we do is not just like a plug and play thing. Again, it's not like just buying some listings and putting on. There's a lot of work, and in reality, somebody stays with us for 3 months. We haven't benefited from it. It's been no use to us. It's been no use to that client either. So, it's best all around that if we don't think that we can work with someone for 2+ years, then there's probably not much point starting.
So having your customer see the value in what you're doing, and quite often, with us, there's a hell of a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and people go, "Oh, that's too much money." Like, really, you don't realise how much work we actually do. So we have to really push how much value, the value of what we do, isn't it?
I think what a lot of people don't value as well is the learning and the knowledge. Everyone's so used to paying for time, and we'll get onto AI, which I think is now leapfrogging that completely. But where you're not even paying for the knowledge, but sometimes like how much time you spend on something is not all the time you've invested in learning it, knowing it, building the processes to deliver it. You must see the same thing.
Yeah, I think that we've tried to move away from being a commodity service, if that makes sense. It's I guess our value really is you can go on websites where you can pick somebody who can do Facebook ads for you, but we've got 6-7 years worth of like ingrained knowledge now of what lenders want to see, what type of things are going to not just generate a lead, but a lead with higher intent levels. What does actually the entire lead journey process need to look like? And as you can imagine, that's the magic sauce, if you like. That's the bit that you're not going to get from someone else, and that's where the value is. No,
we get it. I think the equivalent in our business is when we do authorization work. We've got every question that's been asked by the FCA to every client, or groups. When they ask a question, we know what they're really asking. And on the face of it, if you're doing it for the first time or without that years of experience, it's how you answer the question. It's understanding what the meaning is and where it leads people. And we almost can lead the FCA to the right outcome by getting clients to answer in the right way. You can't create knowledge in a short space of time. And good luck to anyone starting, of course, but there's a reason why, you've got longevity, I'm guessing.
I think the knowledge as well, it's with running the company. With you started just before us, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah. And, how much have you learned? Has it been business 101 for you? Because I know it has been for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it still is now.
Yeah.
I think I actually 6 years in, it almost feels like the last 6 years has been the apprenticeship, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and now it's like, you know, if I started again now, the amount of stuff that you'd learn, you'd be much better prepared to start a business again, I think. But
I still think it'd take you the 5 years to get to that base, though. I'm exactly that. I feel like now you go, like, what we've managed to do in 5 years has got us to a point where we can do what we want, not in an arrogant way, but, you know, kind of like we can now choose. We've got the basis of departments, we've got the business knowledge, we've got the connections, but you can't shortcut that time. I've heard people say it before, you know, like, you know, longevity is really important, and you think, well, as long as I've got ideas or money or whatever it is I can do, I think longevity really matters.
Making mistakes. We've made loads of mistakes, make mistakes every day, but it's just learning from them.
But even with the hindsight, I feel like without the time invested, you just can't shortcut that sometimes.
I absolutely agree.
but again, I know that you guys, because I saw you at an event last year? Yeah, last year.
I think it was, wasn't it?
You know, it's like still at this point, still trying to consume as much information as possible about, you know, how to create a successful business and what have you. And I know that you guys follow the stuff that James Sinclair does, and it's a completely different industry, isn't it?
We're on his podcast as well.
Oh,
should be coming
yeah,
up.
that would actually be on his business broadcast.
I don't know if you're allowed to say that.
You know, it is, I think, you know, so important, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's all product. He's literally the opposite from what we do. When I say product, it's in-person services and product.
Well, he was a bit vexed by our company, wasn't he, when we spoke in his podcast? He wasn't, you know, he gave a couple of answers, but nothing that we didn't already know.
But again, I think we've spoke about recently is sometimes you don't realise how complex your business is.
Exactly.
And that again goes back to longevity, is the complexity is developed over time, and you know, you go and simplify processes, but you think, because you know your business so well, you think it'll actually be easy, but it's really complex to outsiders sometimes. You like, you said, like, a freelancer who says they can do meta ads is not the same as the creative process, the client onboarding, the communication, everything else that goes with it.
I you know, we'll talk about the AI subject later on, but and I did a post about AI recently about what it means for marketing and what have you. But what I've realised is, and it probably has become more and more apparent as markets have got more saturated, but we have got to have even we've got to have our things deeper into our clients than we ever have had to get them results, if that makes sense. Like, it isn't just about generating them leads and that's it, and hoping for the best. It's you know, from a data point of view and understanding not just sort of marketing performance, but business business performance, because I'm not trying to oversimplify some of these businesses, but as you can imagine, the marketing part of dealerships and brokers, without it, there's I don't want to say there's not a lot left. There is, of course. There's so much that goes behind the scenes, but ultimately, unless they're selling cars, you know, or finance agreements or whatever, you know, that's the thing that keeps everything turning. So, you know, 6 years ago, it was a lot easier than what it was now. The world was a very different place. The industry's got a lot harder to operate in, but the industry's not going away, is it? It's just that meant that we've had to sharpen our tools. We've had to get our clients to sharpen their tools more.
Why is it more difficult, John?
Well,
whose fault is it? That's a better question, isn't it? It's always someone's fault.
I think there's you know, we can say, like, the economic climate is no doubt one of the things that's having a factor on things, but people still change their cars maybe a little bit longer than they used to, but they still change their cars on relatively frequent basis. The channels that our clients advertise on, the cost to do that, with the exception of COVID 2020, when there was a big drop, it increases every year because more advertisers come to market. That forces CPMs up. So, any marketing channel, the cost of it increases year on year. And if at the other end, profit per unit or commission from a lender isn't increasing, then the margin's just getting squeezed and squeezed and squeezed. So they're the main things, really. I think especially on social, when we first started, you might have found, so let's take brokers, you might have found half a dozen brokers that were advertising on Meta, for example. Now you're probably into in excess of 100, and they're all fighting for the same people.
Yeah, we get at least one inquiry a fortnight, let's say, from I want to start a brokerage, and it's always an online digital brokerage, and there's other pressures in the background, for compliance and lender onboarding and stuff. But I think they look at some of the market leaders and think this is not easy, but it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
But it is just
the reality is very, very different.
Massively different.
Yeah, I mean, I know that the FCA have tightened up on new applications, haven't they? But I'd imagine at some point
the FCA, from when we started 5 years ago compared to now, completely different.
Yeah.
The whole application process completely different. As we said, it used to take us 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Now it takes us 16 to 20 hours to get that application.
That's for limited business. That's
that's
Ricardi.
that's kind of an easy one.
at one point, though, it felt like, every ex-employee of Car Finance 24/7 or Zoot or whatever.
Those are normally the ones who are ringing us going,
I can do this, and I can make a few quid and get an FCA license. And
from the FCA's point of view, not everyone realises this, is the FCA don't give a fuck about your business. They don't. What they actually care about is the customers, and quite rightly so. So when they look at it, they go, has the customer currently got a choice to go online and look for car finance? If so, why should we authorise you? Not, I've seen a business opportunity. What's the benefit to customers? And how can we be sure that we're not just adding risk to the market? Because the FCA already have to govern however many firms they've got. What you're actually offering them is more risk, but no more money, because the money's split between everyone anyway. And we always try and explain that to people at the outset, because it changes your business plan from, this is how I'm going to make money, to this is why it's a good opportunity for customers and the regulator. So the opportunity isn't always the opportunity that people think it is.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest lesson you've learned in business?
It probably is a real cliche, but a business is just about the people, isn't it? Talk about the clients first of all. It's picking the right clients. It's also picking the right people to service those clients. Like, it is really as simple as that. If I think we've learned a lot on the client side, that we can really help a certain type of client, and we maybe can't help a different type of client. So it's better all around for us to really focus on those people that we can do a really good job for, and we can help and we can grow and what have you. But then on the other side, that's the people that you bring in to service those clients. They've got to be. I think one real thing is, and again, it's linked to the stuff that we were talking about, James Sinclair, is that sort of expectation of wow. How do we create wow? That's something that we've been really thinking about in our business over the last 6 to 9 months. Is how can we create that wow consistently, and ultimately it's having the people that care, want to do a good job in our industry, and I think it's really any industry. That desire to continue to improve is so important.
They're hard to find.
Yeah, if you can get a group of people that have that, though, it almost doesn't matter where they're at when they come and start working with you. If they've got that desire to improve, rather than just sort of come in and do the same job every day and that's it, you can do some really exciting stuff.
What about you, Nick? What's the biggest lesson you've learned in business?
I could just use your one because I already know what yours is, but I won't. I'll ask you the question in a minute. I think it's to stop taking things personally, which is very difficult to start with. I think I've got a hell of a lot better at separating. We've always separated the financials really well. We've always gone, it's not our money, it's the business money. I think that's been a key success. But I think what I struggle with to start with is anything I took really personally, whether that was someone not quite happy enough or something not done to my standard, or, you know, I think really I've done a much better job of saying it's okay. I'm just let the business flow and observe and take a longer term view.
I don't know what mine is. What's mine? What do you say? What do you say?
Never let whatever it is.
Oh yeah. Like I don't let anything that I cannot control. I don't let it bother me.
Yeah.
Don't let emotion get in the way of business.
Well, that's another one. But if I can't control something, you know, if something's like, my wife will get stressed out if somebody flicks her the bird when she's driving, right, for something, and she'll talk about it all day, and I'm like, something fell then. I'm like, I don't really give a shit. Who cares? Who cares? I can't control it. I don't know what that was. But it's not my glasses. But yeah, don't let emotion get in the way of business decision. That's my big one. Yeah. Definitely.
And thanks for tuning in to another episode of How It Is with myself and Nick. Remember to tune back in for next week, as we have Jon Wilson from Social Tap again. And I love the episodes which we've been doing. And remember to subscribe and like to the channel. Tell all your friends about it as well. The more people who watch it, the better. And hopefully you'll enjoy it. Please, also, if you want to come on board, give us a shout. You know, put it in the notes. Send us a carrier pigeon. You know, anything you like. Just give us a shout. Come aboard. It'd be good to talk business.